This week in games, Sony makes a play for From Software, Dead Space 4 gets rejected, Sonic composer sues Sega, and one of the big three consoles dies next generation. This is the Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 231. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
Ready to talk about games like always.
Always ready to talk about video games. Connor, Merry Christmas.
Mm-hmm. And God bless everyone.
Yeah, okay, there you go. You got there.
Dumb little fucking kid.
Jesus.
He had no character.
Tiny Tim?
Yeah, he's just like, he's supposed to make you cry just because he's a kid.
Nice, he's a good kid. He's a nice kid.
You barely know him.
He's caring. He's empathetic. He's
a kid. Most kids are.
No, that's not true. Lots of kids are selfish. Lots of kids are selfish. He's not selfish.
I don't know why I'm picking a fight with
I know you're picking a fight with one of cinema's most beloved characters. It's crazy.
That originated as a book.
Yeah, but it's better as a movie.
No. Well, better, I don't know, but we talk about games here all the time. Talk about games here all the time.
Indeed.
In terms of its importance and its, how it doesn't really matter what it's like nowadays. You have to think about what it was like back then.
You're contorting that argument, but okay.
Yeah, I know. It's called straw manning, Tavin. And now all of a sudden, when it comes to books, that the movies only exist because of the books and how good those are and how well loved those are.
Not necessarily.
And why it's been able to survive as long as it has. Yes. In this case, yes. It's existed because it's been kept alive by
What's more beloved, Alice in Wonderland, the book, or the cartoon?
It's not a matter of what's more beloved, Tavin, like my original point criticizing you was. It's about its importance. All that stuff, yeah, the
Alice in Wonderland is a more important animated movie than it is a book.
That doesn't matter. It wouldn't have been made if it wasn't for the book. And that's actually not important either because the guy who wrote it did lots of shrooms.
Yeah, clearly.
That's cool. Most of the time, you can kind of infer that someone's doing that when they're writing a book, but he was doing that.
Yeah, he's clearly on some LSD dropping acid shit. I've read that book. It's terrible.
Terrible?
It's not good.
Huh. Well, you've never read A Christmas Story.
A Christmas Story? That is a movie, isn't it? Like a movie first. Are you thinking of Christmas Carol?
Yeah.
Okay, the one that we were just talking about?
I blanked.
There you go.
You've never blanked on names before?
I'm almost certain A Christmas Carol means more as a movie than it does as a book.
That might be debatable.
Yeah.
That was a book back in the day. That was a moment.
Great story.
Yeah.
Ebenezer Scrooge.
Mm-hmm.
Goes to Christmas past, present, future.
What's the best movie?
Oh, the one with George C. Scott.
No, it's the one with Jim Carrey.
No, absolutely not. No, that's not
Jim Carrey. Yep.
You picked the worst version of it.
No, I did not.
I'd rather have the Muppets.
Not photorealism?
The Muppets A Christmas Carol is actually not terrible.
I've heard it's good.
Pretty good.
Mm.
Pretty good. It's Muppets, but it's good.
That's a good thing.
But no, A Christmas Carol with George C. Scott playing Ebenezer Scrooge.
Oh, he's good. He's a good actor. An amazing
He's a great actor.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
He's not Jim Carrey. He doesn't have the facial expression.
That's an animated movie.
Yeah, and the entire reason we know those faces were possible is because it was just directly copied from Jim Carrey.
If it was, listen, Christmas Carol, no. Grinch, yes.
Yeah, well, that's definitely true. You've seen him do the Grinch face?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
Oh, he's great.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should watch that movie. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a bit. Not on recently.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. My parents' place.
She kept skipping? She kept channel surfing?
I think something else happened.
Yeah,
sex? No.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Two Penny Gamescast. Each week, me and Connor come to you with the nerdy news you need to know concerning the video game industry. We each bring to you two topics, 2 pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. Reminder, this week, half of the news stories,
some reason
of the stories are available on our Substack. So make sure you subscribe to our Substack down in the description below so that you can catch all the gaming news as it happens because we keep it up to date and follow the trendiest topics when they break.
Mm-hmm.
in the description down below. Also, subscribe to our social medias. We are launching our Instagram. TwoPennyGames official Instagram account has launched. We've got a couple of new reels up there right now that have done quite well. Please go follow us on Instagram and hit a like and drop a comment on those reels and so forth. Very excited to keep that going up. And, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the year. It's the end of the year. Next week, we are doing our TwoPennyGames top 10 games of the year. That's right. Our official top 10 game of the year episode will be going live next week, Tuesday, 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@TwoPennyGames, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. Alongside that, if you watch us live, you'll be able to watch early the Fantasy Critic Draft, our annual Fantasy Critic, in which we basically take fantasy football and we do it to video games, thanks to the power of fantasycritic.com. So very, very excited to jump into that for the next year. Connor, I hope you're planning.
I'm not.
You probably should get on that.
I'm not.
Oh, that's a bad idea. Mm-hmm. That's how you keep losing every year.
Yeah, well, listen.
Yeah?
One day it's going to be proven that procrastination and impromptu attitude is the best way to go about life.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Someday that may have been proven. Yeah.
It will be proven this next Fantasy Critic with me winning.
You think you're going to win off Fantasy Critic not knowing it, not prepping for anything that's coming next year?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Good luck to you. Good luck to you. But, of course, catch this show every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@TwoPennyGames, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. You can also watch us live every Monday afternoon, twitch.tv/TwoPennyGames. The time to start is always different, so make sure you follow and hit that bell over on twitch.tv/TwoPennyGames to watch us record all of our podcasts live. And quick reminder, first week, January 6th, 2025, the Two Penny Game Club returns with BioShock. We will be reviewing and ranking BioShock. The Two Penny Game Club is, of course, our monthly video game book club that comes to you at the first week of every month. BioShock episode is up next. We just did... What did we just do? Metal Gear Solid 2. That's what we just did. Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. So make sure you catch up on that before you jump into BioShock, and come along and let us know how you felt about it down in the comments below. Connor?
Yeah.
We should go ahead and jump right into it, no?
Go right into it.
Yeah.
Ease on in.
You took your time code early, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Moving on to our first topic of the day. Connor, your first penny of the day. Go ahead, take it away, my friend.
Sony becomes majority shareholder of Kadokawa. Sony became the majority shareholder of Kadokawa last week with an investment of 50 billion yen, bringing Sony's share in the company to 10%. A month after Kadokawa CEO Takeshi Natsuno confirmed rumors that Sony provided a buyout offer for the Japanese media conglomerate, future relations between the two companies have been made more clear. Quote, Kadokawa and Sony historically have collaborated on various projects and, through this capital and business alliance, intended to further strengthen our collaboration to maximize both companies' IP value globally and facilitate wider and deeper collaboration, such as potential joint investments in the content field, joint discovery of new creators, and joint promotion of further media mixes of both companies' IPs, Sony stated in a December 19th press release. This is a lot better than the alternative of them buying out Kadokawa, which were the fears. Because, we've seen in recent years a lot of consolidation amongst the gaming industry. And very often that follows layoffs galore and leads more into the direction of monopoly, which, there's a reason why they have laws against it. It's bad for the industry, bad for the economy. And so while that is better, it's not out of the realm of possibility that if this partnership goes really well with whatever it is they got in plan, they could down the line say, well, we're doing so great with being 10% shareholders. What if we're great owning most of the company, like just in bulk? That'd be not good, but we're a little ways off from that. As of now, thank God. I was waiting for any day now for us to hear the news that they were going to be bought out.
Right. Well, yeah, from a gaming perspective, the focus is the fate of From Software here.
Yeah.
Through this majority shareholder of Kadokawa. And Granted, like this still gives Sony some say in what From Software is doing and what they are doing next. I don't have fear that Sony would be, or PlayStation or Sony, I guess Sony would interfere with what FromSoft is doing. They're literally just printing money, so you kind of just keep letting them print money right now. So yeah, I agree. This is probably the best case scenario of what could happen here, but I think it easily lays the groundwork for more. And 10% sure, but what's to stop them jumping up 15, 20, and then eventually just buying the whole thing outright? Who knows? But it's also important to know that Kadokawa is not, the moneymaker is not necessarily solely From Software. You know, they're heavy in anime, they're heavy in multimedia conglomerate stuff. So this is a bigger move for Sony than just PlayStation, FromSoft, all that stuff. The scale is much grander. Now, what does that mean industry-wide? You know, we'll have to wait and see. I imagine for the everyday folk, you're not going to see a lot of differences and so forth. But I am curious, what are Sony's plans here?
Well, the focus seems to be on IPs as a whole.
Yeah.
And seeing as how Crunchyroll was not that long ago bought up by Sony, and they've clearly been trying to break out into the anime market. They've also been doing more film releases and television releases. They're trying to take their video games and not just keep them as video games. So, as you said, From Software is the biggest, part of this whole thing because we talk about video games all the time. And From Software, they've been the top dogs. And so that's where a lot of these decisions seem to come from, rather than any of the other related things. But that's just an added bonus because, Kadokawa, being a media conglomerate, has a lot of IPs under their belt. Sony having the capabilities to make movies, to make animes, to make TV shows, means that this partnership just makes sense. This seems to be almost like a trial period where they want to see how much, when they're more involved in Kadokawa's production of things, if, they'll clearly make money from it, but, at a certain point they might say, well, maybe if we just take control of this thing, we can make even more money and we can entirely put the profits onto our side of things rather than just have to split it.
Yeah, I don't know so much about trial period. I think this is just the steps that they have to go through for complete control / acquisition. I mean, this gives them a large amount of control over Kadokawa. Being your major shareholder is a big deal, especially with companies of these sizes and so forth. So I'm almost curious if Sony have a streaming platform. I don't know if they do.
I don't think they do.
Yeah.
They just got Crunchyroll, which, other than that, they don't have anything.
So I'm curious if it means that, like, maybe we use Crunchyroll as our foundation and rebrand it and build it off into a full-fledged Sony DSP, or a lot of Sony movies and stuff end up on Netflix and Disney Plus sometimes and so forth. So I'm almost curious if it means that, like, they're more comfortable doing that. In which case, I think just being a major shareholder is all they're looking to be here. But if they are looking to potentially launch some kind of mainstream streaming platform, weird, late to the party. But Sony has always Sony as a whole, not PlayStation, but Sony as a whole has very often been late to the party on a lot of things. So, I could see that being a route that they want to take. If so, then if so, and they do develop their own full-fledged streaming platform, I would expect an even greater shareholder percentage or complete acquisition at some point. Whether that's a couple years from now or 10 years from now, of course, we'd have to wait and see on all of that. But if they're looking to acquire IPs, and create some sort of, I don't know what you would call it, database, cornucopia. What do you call these? Like a collection of media, a collection of material,
coalition,
a collection of creations. I don't know. Yeah, something like that. I could definitely see them really wanting to stake their claim. And I mean, like, they have so many IPs under their belt, so many big movies, so many big TV shows and stuff. Like, it's not like a Sony streaming service wouldn't do damage, especially if they can figure out a way to incorporate the PlayStation branch of their subscription service into that and create some sort of their own version of a PlayStation Game Pass type thing.
We had heard some rumors about them thinking about that. Nothing concrete.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I don't think they would, because I think they're clearly pretty successful at extorting $70 from the public whenever they want. And they do well at putting on discounts on games and stuff, and getting people to buy games and so forth like that. But it's not like they haven't tried streaming in the past. PlayStation 4 launched with some way to you stream. What was that TV show that they were doing at the time?
And that seemed to come from Xbox, because they were doing that whole thing, and that was one of their big
TV
pushes.
And TV was a big instead of a video game console, you were buying a multimedia machine,
and that didn't market well. People were not happy about that, and somebody seemed to kind of be like, "Well, we can do that too, and do the cool games."
Yeah,
but that didn't.
Well, it was more of like a but just in case the TV thing works, we've still got it. And
That's
stuff like that. And I mean, it's not like PlayStation hasn't been building out some kind of streaming platform through their acquisition of Gaikai, which then became PlayStation Now, which they've kind of reworked and rebranded and so forth. And streaming, like it or not, guys, is the future. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. You're not going to download games. You're not going to buy CDs of games, or I guess Blu-rays, discs of games. You're not going to physical media will die. And then it will just become a point of you just stream everything everywhere all at once.
And then those companies can cuckold you.
Yeah, they can. And it's very scary. So I don't know. I could see Sony as a multimedia mogul going a bunch of different directions here. Which one they choose, who knows? Connor, moving on to topic number 2. My first penny of the day, one that kind of breaks my heart, but is not unexpected here. EA rejects pitch for a Dead Space 4. In an interview with YouTuber Dan Allen Gaming, 3 developers of the original Dead Space, Glenn Schofield, Christopher Stone, and Brett Robbins, confirmed that there are no current plans for a Dead Space 4. The pitch was made to EA at some point this year, according to Schofield. But the offer was seemingly rejected outright. Schofield says they, quote, respected their opinion, despite saying they had some ideas for what a 4th installment would look like. The decision appears to have been born from a tumultuous state of the industry, with Stone stating that the industry is, quote, in a weird place. EA was previously reported to have canceled plans for a Dead Space 2 remake off of the back of disappointing sales for a recent remake of the original Dead Space.
That getting $2 million in sales, which sounds good.
Disappointing.
But it's disappointing.
Highest selling Dead Space, or fastest selling Dead Space, I believe. Didn't live up to numbers. Now, this is not surprising. This is exactly the type of move I would expect EA to make. I also don't know what a Dead Space 4 would look like, and I don't really want to know what a Dead Space 4 would look like right now. I was much more interested and excited about remaking the trilogy and sort of creating more cohesion between the 3 games and sort of elevating them to the true survival horror status that they should have been the first time around. And, obviously we saw what happened there. A lot of EA meddling. The first game, survival horror classic at this point. Second game, a really great game. Our personal favorites of that original trilogy. But more of an action game. Not so much focused on the scares, really more focused on just having great gameplay and great level design. Question mark?
I remember it being not really cool to go across the whatever the station's called.
Yeah. So when they said, hey, we're not doing a Dead Space 2 remake, I'm expecting Dead Space. We will never see this IP ever again, which breaks my heart because I love Dead Space. Dead Space had so much potential to be in that echelon of your Resident Evils, your Silent Hills, and stuff like that. It had the potential to be that, and it just never quite got there.
It's particularly disappointing because in the catalog of Dead Space, obviously you have some spin-off games, which you can kind of discard those when you're talking about it as a whole. But the mainline games only had a negative, not even negative, lackluster critical response with the 3rd game.
Yeah, that game sucks.
Yeah, but to my knowledge, it even sold well. So it seems like it kind of just died out without really having a strong reason to do so.
Yeah, I think fans and critics and stuff got burned. I don't think a Dead Space 4 in 2013-14, because Dead Space 3 came out 2011, I want to say. 12? 11?
Yeah, somewhere on that time.
A Dead Space 4 in 2014 would not have done well at all. That would have killed the franchise for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, and also they they dipped too much. They were trying to make Dead Space annual. It wasn't working. And then there was comic books and video games and animated movies and stuff. And you're just like, ugh, we don't need this much Dead Space. It didn't need to be this full blown up universe type thing. It just needed to be, stories, scary sci-fi spooky games. Like that's all it needed to be. And yeah, they were just doing way too much, way too fast. And the IP wasn't strong enough to do that. It could have gotten there at some point. But yeah, it's just not possible to happen.
You say we won't see this IP again.
I don't think so.
In a relevant way to how we talk about games, probably not. I see this game visually. Let's say 2050. It's like, what game are they showing at EA 2018? EA 2018 or whatever the fuck they would call it. I don't know what my name.
I don't know where
I'm bad at naming conventions. And then they're like, we're bringing back Dead Space. And all those people that played it back in the day are going to be like, oh, it's Dead Space. It's back.
We just did that with the remake.
They're like years and years and years down the line.
We just did that with the remake.
No. You don't know what I'm saying when I say years. Not just a measly little over a decade. I'm talking like 30 years. Like all of a sudden, it's like when you would get Perfect Dark, right? Came out in the 90s. We're just now getting like a revival of that, and it's like it's been so long. It's gonna be that kind of reaction. I see that happening.
It's not happening.
It's going to.
It's not happening.
Yeah. You a seer? You know things? An oracle?
I might be.
You're not.
Pretty good with this game shit.
Oh, you got so fucking high on your ass because you said that Naughty Dog's next game should be sci-fi.
Nailed it.
And they do it.
Nailed it.
You think
Go
you're
find
smart.
the clip.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Nailed
exactly.
it.
Yeah, you did. And now you think that you know everything.
I know a lot.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You
only think you know a lot because you guessed that one thing.
Connor, I bet you $20 right now. In the next decade, we don't see Dead Space.
I didn't say we would see it within the next... In fact, I said the opposite. I said it's not going to be a measly decade before we see it again. I'm not taking that bet.
Yeah, Dead Space is dead, and that hurts. But, like, what would a Dead Space 4 be? I don't want more Isaac Clarke. Did he die at the end of 3? He died at the end of 3, didn't he?
Suppose. You never find out.
Ugh.
But it was one of those situations where you're like, how does he live? Then again, Shepard did fall from a ship onto a planet.
That's not Shepard on the fucking Earth. That's not him, guys. Spoilers, it's not him. He didn't have a helmet on when he blew up.
I'm talking about 2. Also...
Yeah. Oh, you're saying because he somehow survived re-entry of orbit. Yeah. Okay, got you.
Well, they were able to revive him, but they can revive Isaac Clarke. There's even weirder space shit going on there.
Yeah, I don't want a return to Isaac Clarke. I'm cool. Yeah, if you're going to do one, like new characters, new story, new everything.
It is disappointing we're not seeing the remakes continue because, as you said, obviously 1 and 2 are cemented, but 3, it could have kicked off from there, gone somewhere different.
Yeah.
Making a remake of that.
Yeah.
Because they would probably do...
Well, I would have wanted 2 to be more survival horror. Yeah. Like, kick the action stuff. We don't need that. Like, Dead Space 1 remake plays great.
Yeah.
More of that, you would have gotten my $70 so fast. But clearly they believe whatever they're looking at in the numbers that like, they're just not, Dead Space doesn't deliver on what they want.
Yeah.
Which sucks. So yeah, rest in peace, Dead Space. Great franchise. Never really found its peak.
Real quick, Schofield Studio's still around. The Callisto Protocol, they just had layoffs, correct?
Yeah, striking distance. Yeah, they're still around, but Schofield's no longer there.
Oh, he's not there.
Yeah, he left.
Ah, damn, that sucks.
Yeah. I don't think that studio's.
Yeah, with him not being there, it seems like
I don't think the studio's making it.
Yeah.
So yeah, striking distance. Yeah, striking distance. Yeah. Callisto Protocol. Meh. Moving on, Connor. Topic number 3. Your second penny of the day. What do we got here, buddy?
Oh man, I'm such a Sonic fan. I'm really sad to be delivering you guys this news. Actually, kind of disappointing. This is from Polygon, since I did not write it, because I was so busy. I was very busy.
So busy. Mm-hmm. You had so much going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
live and learn musician suing Sega over ownership of iconic Sonic the Hedgehog song. This is from Nicole Carpenter at Polygon, as previously stated. And I would read more, but this guy, he just doesn't know what he's doing.
I was laughing. It was funny.
Yes, the beloved Sonic Adventure 2 theme song, Live and Learn, is in the upcoming Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Not upcoming.
Sonic's out.
It's out.
Hey, Connor, we saw it.
We never reviewed it.
We didn't review it.
Will we ever review it?
I don't know.
It was fun.
It's fun. It's a Sonic movie.
Yeah.
You know? You're getting what you're expecting out of that. Moving on.
But the song is causing controversy elsewhere. Crush 40 musician Johnny Gioeli is suing Sega of America for breach of contract, saying the publisher only has rights to the lyrics, not any other part of the composition. Gioeli claims in the lawsuit filed earlier in December in California and reviewed by Polygon that he is the owner of the, quote, master recording and composition, end quote, of the song. He says he was unaware of its usage in at least 25 different games, including re-releases of Sonic Adventure 2, Yakuza 4, Sonic Generations, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Sonic X Shadow Generations, and Sonic at the Olympic Games. And he's alleging that Sega doesn't have the correct licenses to use the song, which would mean that Gioeli wasn't rightly compensated for its usage in these games. Gioeli began working with Sega composer Jun Senoue in the 90s, first on Sonic Adventure's Open Your Heart, and eventually on the title track for Sonic Adventure 2, Live and Learn. Together, they wrote and performed first under the names Sons of Angels, then Crush 40. Gioeli says in the lawsuits he was paid $3,000 by Sega in 2001 to write the lyrics for the then untitled song that would eventually become Live and Learn. But the scope of the work changed. His lawyers write in the lawsuit. Senoue and Gioeli worked together remotely. Senoue would send demos to Gioeli, who would rework them into a revised song, of which he owns the master recording. Gioeli's lawsuit filing says he, quote, controlled and oversaw the recording processes, produced the recording, directed the arrangement and of the song, directed the recording progress for other musicians, and recorded and performed the vocals, end quote. It states that his only correspondence with Sega during this process was through Senua. Gioeli says the master recording is credited to Crush 40, but not Sega. He has reportedly, quote, maintained and registered, end quote, the song for decades with music licensing agency BMI, which is listed as co-written by himself and Senua. He also holds the copyright, according to the lawsuit, where he is listed of having authorship, rights, and permissions over the music and lyrics. The song was registered by the U.S. Copyright Office in 2024 per records. Gioeli says he was only aware that the song would be used in Sonic Adventure 2, not elsewhere. He learned in 2024 through a fan. His lawyers write that Live and Learn is used in lots of other places. Gioeli has worked with Sega for more than 20 years, most recently with Green Light Ride for Team Sonic Racing. Crush 40 also performed in the Sonic Hedgehog 30th Anniversary Symphony in 2021. In 2016, Polygon described Crush 40's work over the years as, quote, some of the most memorable but rock tracks from Sonic history, and the history of video games in general, end quote. But the process for the rest of Gioeli's work with Sega resulted in more specific agreements that included rights for the master recordings and compositions, something that he says isn't the case with Live and Learn. That's why Gioeli is asking the court to determine who the owner of the masters is, and then to compensate him for the lost fees he would have gotten for licensing the songs out to Sega. Gioeli's lawyer says that a Sega lawyer told him that it doesn't have the rights to the song during correspondence regarding a Sega Symphony series. In 2024, a different lawyer allegedly told Gioeli that it's a joint work and that Gioeli is entitled to 50% of Sega's profits from the joint work, but has refused to account that Gioeli is the account or joint owner of the copyrights regarding the master recording and composition. That's crazy.
That's a lot. Okay.
With a song as prolific as Live and Learn.
Well, I went through a roller coaster there because at first I was like, all right, bro, like you don't have like because I thought he was just like trying to shut it down, and like restrict use of the song, and that's not what he's doing. He's just asking for compensation of it, which I do think, you should be compensated for.
Beautifully
that.
old.
Sounds like he worked more on the lyrics than the composition, which goes against his argument that he owns the masters and the recordings and like is the owner of the composition. Meanwhile, Sega is the owner of those lyrics, which is strange to me. It feels like that kind of mixes up your messaging a little bit. But yeah, at first I was like, oh well, dude, like these aren't like small games. Like these are big games. Like so, like if he was trying to shut it down, I would have been like, bro, it's like games are big. Yakuza 4, Super Smash Brothers, like, and they've been around for a long time. So it's not like you like had case, like, you can't plead ignorance to these things, but I mean, even though he kind of is or whatever, but that's not the case. He's just trying to get compensated for what happened here. How much is that? I don't know. I don't imagine it's going to be that much. But it would probably be whatever Sega got paid for licensing for things like Super Smash Brothers and stuff like that. Sega just cut him a check for the use in Yakuza 4 and other Sega titles. I don't know. Like, I don't know how that works.
That's the thing. It sounds like he's losing out on money regardless.
Oh, yeah.
Due to the fact that they didn't, he didn't get paid for it.
Yeah.
And he had such a, monumental role in the creation of that song that it is crazy that they went this long and they just kind of used it illegally. I guess that's to be determined,
illegally,
but
yeah.
Immorally, unethically.
Yeah, for sure.
That's like one of the best parts about the Sonic games is the music.
That song. Yeah,
and that song particularly, yeah. I hope he wins this case. I feel like he will.
I mean, if he gets a paycheck, he gets a paycheck. Cool. Yeah. I don't think this does anything for Sega necessarily. I don't think it's not like he's going to get like millions of dollars out of this.
Well, yeah. I mean, you would only really see an impact if he was trying to get it removed from those games that it was.
Because then now you got to do updates. You got to take the game out of or you got to take the song out of the games. Mm-hmm. You got to work, because fans will work to put the song back into the games. So you got to work against that. Yeah. You can't use the song anymore. And that would be super complicated and hard to do, especially because a lot of those games have physical versions. Like Yakuza 4 come out like
a while ago,
a long time ago, because it was 4.0, which was 2016, 2017. So yeah, that Yakuza 4 has been out probably since like 2012 or some shit. 210, yeah. So yeah, that would be really hard to update that game and get it out of there. Not impossible, but it would be hard. And so yeah. If he should be compensated, then compensate the man. Yeah. That's where the train the buck kind of stops there. I am a little curious as to the whole rights and ownership of masters situation there. It does seem unclear on both parties. And I think Sega is being strategic and being silent on that specific element. But yeah, things like that quote about getting 50% of the revenue gained off of it and so forth. What does that even look like? Because like you're talking one song out of a thing, so you can't sure, maybe you dip into a percentage of profit, but like you're not. Sega doesn't own you 50% of the profit gained off of Yakuza 4, for example, or half of the profit gained off of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games and stuff like that. Like, no, that's not going to happen.
And that's ultimately why he's going to be gypped and not make as much money as he otherwise would have. It's more important for the principle and the standard, because since it's such a popular song, it's going to get more usage elsewhere. And so down the line is when he can really start reaping the benefits of that. Though I guess they could rule against him because of the fact that he's involved with lyrics or
Sega owns the lyrics.
Yeah,
is what he's claiming. Sega owns the lyrics. He owns the masters to the composition of the song.
Yeah.
But again, that's weird because it sounds like his biggest contribution was the lyrics. And maybe some arrangement and stuff like that. So maybe he does have rights to composition in that sense. But that's a whole thing that's going to have to be settled out in either in court or out of court or something like that. I mean, I would guess Sega just settles out of court and they cut him a fat check.
And it might be just easier for him rather than going through all these lawsuits and legal proceedings.
Here, bro. Here's $100,000. Go away.
You didn't get me to go away immediately. All right, see? Thanks.
Interesting that Sega does respond to the live symphony stuff and says, you're not entitled to any of that. That's ours. That's an interesting thing. So I wonder if they're going to be able to finesse that argument and turn it into we have free rights to use the song whenever because we can hear type thing.
Yeah, that's kind of going back to what I said earlier. Down the line with repeated usage of the song, it really determines if he, is intent on trying to get more money that way, as opposed to just some out of fee court.
Because I will say this: there's a more likely if Gioeli gets what he wants out of this, there's a good chance you never hear Live and Learn in a video game ever.
Possibly, but then again, it's so popular.
Or they remix it.
That'd probably be the thing they would do because they want to get rid of that song. It's too Sonic. It's defines Sonic as far as music goes.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to show up in other things. I'm surprised it took this long. It took 15 plus years to notice that this is happening.
Well, it's funny. That's the funny part of this story. How some fan was just like, "Dude, that's a big song, and it's a lot of places."
Yeah.
He's like, "Wait, it is?
It's where?"
It's
He goes, "Man, you really like that game." Games. What?
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I first heard it in Sonic the Olympic Games. What? What is that? Moving on. Final topic of the day. My second penny of the day. There's a report from VGC Andy Robinson. The games industry will only have room for one non-Nintendo console next gen, it's claimed. The games industry will only be able to support 2 successful game consoles in the next generation of hardware, a new report claims, and one of those will clearly be Nintendo. Market research from DFC Intelligence released its annual market report and forecast this week, in which it projects major revenue growth for the second half of the decade, while predicting significant risk for one of the 3 established console manufacturers. DFC predicts that thanks to new hardware from Nintendo and major releases such as GTA 6, the games industry will enjoy record growth in 2025, following a period of decline following the COVID-19 pandemic. The firm predicts that the number of people worldwide who play video games will exceed 4 billion by 2027, nearly half the global population. It projects that Nintendo will be the clear winner in the next generation of consoles, due largely to a combination of earlier availability and limited competition. However, DFC projects that only one of Sony and Microsoft will be able to successfully compete with Nintendo when their new console launches by 2028. Quote, there isn't room for more than 2 major console systems, it says. Quote, Sony or Microsoft will struggle mightily in a distant third place, largely depending on which of those companies gain early momentum. DFC believes it's too early to know which of Xbox and PlayStation will drop off next gen, stating that price points, launch dates, and other basic features such as portability will factor. Quote, a new Sony system should have an advantage because of a loyal base and strong Sony IP, it says, while noting that Microsoft will go into its next console as the largest gaming publisher. Quote, Microsoft failed with the Xbox Series X/S, but has made major acquisitions to become world's largest software publisher. Microsoft has the option of focusing on software and distribution models over hardware. DFC Intelligence founder and CEO David Cole said in a statement, quote, over the past 3 decades, the video game industry has grown more than 20 times, and after 2 years of slumping hardware and software sales, it's poised to resume growing at a healthy rate through the end of the decade. While 2025 will mark the beginning of that upward trajectory, some huge questions remain, including who will lose the next-gen console war and who will win the game software distribution battle. And with that large publishers focused on live services around evergreen franchises, opportunities for smaller studios will be plentiful. Nintendo has yet to officially reveal its Switch successor, but the company has confirmed plans to do so during its current fiscal year, which ends in March 2025.
From how games have gone recently on the console side of things, this, not even just the console side of things, but games, this makes a lot of sense. Microsoft has for a while now been on the back pedal when compared to Sony in terms of exclusives to big name games and to consoles themselves. The most Microsoft has gotten ahead of Sony in recent talks has been on the mobile scene. And I talked about it a while ago before that was announced. I was like, that seems to be the space they have the best chance of, maximizing profits, because PlayStation's just, it's so cemented as far as a console maker goes. And, the next PlayStation console isn't probably going to be, it isn't going to be a big leap in technology. It could just be slight updates of the PS5 rather than a PS6. So the console market is going to be changing. It is changing. And due to the fact that Nintendo is Nintendo, they're insulated from all of this, while also being able to provide a mobile device, which is just appeasing to everybody. My brother recently, he got into video games again through the Switch because he loved them years ago.
Which one?
The Switch. Wait, what?
Brother.
Oh, Spencer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, my older brother, he'd always been into games. My younger one, he fell off. But Nintendo, they're just those. It's that game that can draw you in very easily. So even if you aren't going to be a pro gamer and get the big giant machine, you have them on one side, and then if you want the giant big machine that's not a PC, You got the PS5. No one I've met really is trying to jump on the new Xbox console. You know, when the sales were going, when people were having a hard time getting consoles, it was the PlayStation that people have had a hard time getting. Xboxes, to a degree, to a much lesser degree. I remember I was trying to get one for my brother while also trying to get a PlayStation, and it was night and day difference. The first time I tried to get an Xbox, I succeeded, took multiple tries for the PlayStation. And I think that really framed my perspective on, you know, who's in the running nowadays. And aside from just mobile devices, Microsoft should just be focusing on making better games. You know, not only just, well, they were never really trying their hand at exclusives. They didn't really dive too hard into, you know, standout IPs. More just trying to have a lot of games under their catalog.
And this is where I'm going to jump in. I've got two perspectives on it. One that's focused on the past, one that's focused on the future. Which would you like to hear first?
Past.
This is not surprising to me that there's not enough room for three major consoles in the industry at one time. Let's break that down, right? You can kind of start. I mean, Atari, then Nintendo, and then Sega, and then Atari falls away, right? Then let's take it forward another generation. PlayStation hits the scene. Sega starts falling away. Nintendo stays true. I think Nintendo now at this point is so established in the industry that it's going to be pretty hard to get them to move ever at all. And you know what, Connor? That got put into practice. The next generation forward, who enters the field? Xbox, Microsoft, right? And then now we have sort of the standstill between the big three, whether it's, you know, the original Xbox, but really the Xbox 360 is where they really start doing some damage and making some numbers and waves for themselves. So Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, Nintendo Wii. Now, of course, Nintendo Wii, major success, but because Nintendo pivoted away from the hardcore gamer, away from the traditional gamer, and tried to get more people involved. Try to get your grandmas involved, and your grandpas, and so next thing you know, everybody's aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, everybody got a Wii, right? Because of the whole movement, get up, get off the couch gimmick that they were pushing so far. But what happened immediately after that?
Wii
U. Nintendo's
Success.
biggest mainstream failure to date. That should have knocked Nintendo out of the market. And I think only because they were so established in the early years of the video game industry forming is how they were able to stay alive and continue through and push forward with success with the Switch. And so now we once again are forced to look at the landscape of games. And if you look at just the history of the video game landscape, there have not been a consistent big three or a consistent three major competitor market ever. Not really, right? Because as soon as Nintendo bounced back, Xbox fell away again, and they've I'm not gonna say they've been on a downward trend ever since, but it's been peaks and valleys, right? Or you know, sort of like placating at a lower rung than the other two. So my thing is, I don't think the industry has ever had room really. At least in any long form way, it's just so hard to tell because the industry's so young. But I think this is the establishing of the pattern of you've only got two big console manufacturers at a time. One of them is going to be Nintendo because they were here from the start, you know. And then that brings me to my second perspective on this, which is who cares? Because if we look forward to the future, I already said 10, 15 minutes ago, the future is streaming. Eventually, a console will not matter. It'll be a stick that you plug into your TV. And then eventually, it'll just be the TV. You know? It'll just be a screen. And that screen will download your app. It'll download your PlayStation store. It'll download your Xbox storefront, your Nintendo storefront, and everybody will play through that. And then, honestly, all of the market may just go to controllers. And what controller do you personally like? And in that realm, there doesn't need to be a major, I mean, there's always going to be a major guy, right? But, you know, how many different keyboard manufacturers are there? How many different TV remote manufacturers are there? Usually that comes with the TV, so bad example. But you know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. And yeah, will Xbox stop being a console manufacturer? Maybe not next generation, but the one after that? Probably. But how many more generations do we have before that just kind of doesn't matter anymore?
Well, a lot of that depends on the technology you're talking about and when it's going to come to fruition in a point where it's going to be able to replace consoles.
Right, but at the rate that I'm talking about, I'm talking the next 15 years. 15 years from now, are you going to tell me we still have consoles?
Easily could. That's the thing.
I don't think we easily could, Connor. I think we very easily could not. Because technology has been growing at an exponential rate, and it just keeps growing. Now, you can say we've hit a bit of a plateau now, but that's only because the internet hasn't caught up. But at some point, I would say probably in the next 10 to 15 years, I would predict, some random guy who knows nothing, internet's going to catch up. It's getting better. And that's 5 years ago, the idea of streaming something to your device was ludicrous. Oh, there's no way to support that. That's not going to happen. But now I have this little discount device called a PlayStation Portal that's kind of like on the lower end of technology, and it streams games fine. So like just in 5 years, we've gone from impossible to no, that's a thing that everybody can do, and it's pretty easy. You can do it on your phone, pretty easy, right? And so another 5 years, another 10 years. And the problem solves itself.
But that's where the issue comes into play, because you're talking about people that invest millions and millions of dollars and like to plan things out. Planning things out to a point of, a technology that may or may not come to fruition isn't a good way to run a business. And so we're not in the conversation yet to really say that it doesn't matter, because we don't know what's going to matter in the next couple
It is not
years.
a matter of will or will not. It is a matter of when.
But even within that, when could be a long time. Because you're saying with how the technologies have advanced, sure, we could be heading really quickly into the streaming service, or like how you said, we've kind of at the peaks and valleys. We're at the plateau. Good word, Tavin. For consoles, it is they could reach that for streaming. We've just had the PlayStation Portal. We've had the Steam Deck come out.
Right, but my point being the next big breakthrough is not through the power of the technology, it's through the power of the internet. And what was the internet 20 years ago? Less. A lot less, right? So just jump forward another 20 years. Because we're talking generations. Listen, this generation's got another 4 years in it, 4, maybe 5, if they really want to stretch it, but likely 4. The analysts are saying probably 2028 is when PlayStation's ready to go again. Switch is clearly ready to go again. And it's weird to just be like, like Nintendo will win because it has an earlier advantage. Nintendo's not caring about generational runs anymore, so they're on their own schedule, right? Which is obviously working out great for them. And then now we look at like PlayStation, and you just see the iteration happening, right? PS4 had a small little jump at the PS4 Pro. PS4 to PS5, not excluding the Pro, not that big of a jump, right? There was a jump, but it wasn't that big. It's smaller than from 3 to 4, and obviously from 2 to 3. It's getting smaller as we keep going. So the point being, that's the next breakthrough. That's the next thing that makes everybody get excited. That's the next thing that makes everybody go, oh man, the future, can't wait. It's that thing. So, if we can see it, if guys like you and I can see it, then bigwigs who are in private meetings and conversations and know how that technology is working and developing and coming about, they're planning for it. There's no way they're not. And my example of that is Xbox Cloud streaming. Xbox knows they're not winning this console race anymore. Yeah. They've been known that. Phil Spencer has admitted it. They're running third. They've been running third for 2 generations now. They know they don't have long in this market. So what are they doing? They're building out a foundation for streaming because it's coming. It's only a matter of time. Like the genie's out of the bag or out of the bottle. There's no other way around it. It's only a matter of time. Now we can sit here and go, oh, but it'll be forever, yada, yada, yada. 5 years ago, a PlayStation Portal would have been laughed out of the room. Today, it's a cool device that's on the lower rung of technology. Like, that's only a 5-year jump. It's gonna keep going. It's not like we're gonna sit on our hands and sit here and wait for 5 years until it magically happens. There's somebody actively working in a lab right now on how to get the internet to work better and how to get it to more people.
The thing is, I don't think these companies really care about those advancements in technology without knowing for sure that it's going to result in profit.
It will.
Yeah.
It undeniably will. I'll go ahead.
Yes, but not with what they have right now.
I'll go ahead and predict right now, this next generation coming up is the last generation that is solely focused on physical, on selling you a physical box. I'm not saying, what are we in right now? We're in the 8th generation, 9th? We're in the 9th. So 10th generation, 2028, yeah, it'll be a very traditional PlayStation 6 box, right? The one after that, they'll still have a box, but there will also be a different SKU of like, hey, you can also like buy this USB drive or something equivalent to that at a cheaper price, and you can just stream all of your stuff, and we'll just allow you to do that. Like, that future is knocking on the door. It's happening sooner than later. Now, will it be the main profit margin? No. But at the same time, Connor, if PlayStation comes out next generation and they don't have a handheld equivalent device, whether it's a separate device from the main box or is the main box that you can pick up and go like a Switch or a Steam Deck, they will lose. We already know Microsoft's working on it. There's been leaks forever about how they've got a handheld in the works, because that's where the industry's at right now, is portability, the ability to take it somewhere.
But even beyond that, not just focusing on consoles, one of the last times that was a focus, specifically from Microsoft, was with the Xbox One, with all of the focus on TV streaming and whatnot, and it failed massively. You still need to make games
the marketing
to go along with it.
Because the marketing was wrong. Because I don't know if you remember, there was a conversation after the boxes launched and the big failure happened and Xbox had to pivot back to games. There was a big conversation of like, guys, this was the roadmap. This was the plan. And everybody went, oh, wait, that sounds good. And guess what? That's where the industry is today. The problem with that beat was marketing. It was TV, Call of Duty. That was the problem. This still keeps it in the realm of games. It's still about playing the latest and greatest video games. It's not about getting the TV, which will be there also, because of course it will, because that's easy, right? It's not about just your big Madden, NFL, Call of Duty switchers, right? It's not about that, unless they fumble the marketing again, which I don't think they would, because obviously that was a big failure, right? It's not about being the multimedia device. It's about making the device better. It's about putting games where you want them instantly, and not having to worry about downloads, not having to worry about load times, not having to worry about where you can play your video game. It can be anywhere, right? I can log in to a public computer, into my PlayStation account at, I don't know, a public library or some shit, into my PlayStation account and play the latest God of War, because it'll just stream right there and public internet is at that point, right? At some point. That's the dream. That's the goal. That's the idea. Do libraries have computers anymore? Surely they do, right?
Yes, they have computers.
Yeah. Are there libraries anymore?
They are. And they're very good and useful.
That's my point. It's not about taking the attention away from the games. It's how do we consume games in the next 15 years? And that's changing. Much like how you would not be able to imagine 10 years ago being able to, I mean, you could imagine it, but you always thought it was a pipe dream, being able to take the next God of War on the road with you. Not a pipe dream anymore. It's happening. It's happening right now. Like your buddy brought over a Steam Deck, and I got to put my hands on a Steam Deck for the first time, and I played Resident Evil 4 in that chair on a little handheld thing, and it worked well enough.
Yeah,
it was, the technology was like, it worked natively on the Steam Deck. It was just the Steam Deck's not the most powerful machine in the world right now, right? Eventually, those machines will be able to boost out about as much power as a PlayStation 5 console. They're getting damn close already, and so it's just, at some point it's like, all right, well, like, what's really the difference between a PlayStation 6 or 7 and my new PlayStation portable thing?
Well, the first thing I would jump to is technology. I think that's like central here.
I mean, yes, the game will run worse than it would run on a PlayStation 6, right? It just natively will. But like, that's my point, is PlayStation 6 they will miss if they don't have a portable something. Now, will it be enough to knock them out of the industry in the console making market? No. But my point, to bring it back to the beginning, is it doesn't matter if you get knocked out of the console market. The console market's not existing for another 15 years. Not as the primary version of how to play games.
Guess we'll see.
I mean, the standardization of PC gaming is new technology. The idea of like Steam.
Yeah.
That's new technology. That's only been the last,
it's been around for
20
a long while.
years.
That's a pretty good long while for technological purposes. I mean, things advance a lot all the time.
I'm older than Steam. That's not that long. That's not even half a person old.
You always talk about how you're old and you're getting old, so you're kind of contradicting yourself.
I mean, I am getting old. I'm in my late 20s now.
Yeah. It's so old.
No, but yeah, like 20 years, yeah, sounds like a long time. And to an individual human, it is a long time. But in the grand scape of things, it's not that long. I mean, that's...
Yeah. Drop in the bucket.
Like, my mom will still be alive in 20 years, Hopefully.
Yeah.
You pray. That's the point.
You don't pray.
No. Anything else?
Just not really, no. There's a lot of theoretical talk. And theoretical talk is stupid for nerds with glasses. That's a convoluted way of saying no. An insulting way of saying no.
Oh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for your Two Penny Gamescast. Let us know how you think about the digital future looming over us in the comments down below. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow us on social media, subscribe to us on Substack, and until next time, have a great time. Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.
Play BioShock.